the H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it. We believe jobs must be offered to American workers first. Does that make sense? Right now, widespread abuse in our immigration system is allowing American workers of all backgrounds to be replaced by workers brought in from other countries to fill the same job for sometimes less pay. This will stop. American workers have long called for reforms to end these visa abuses, and today their calls are being answered for the first time. That includes taking the first steps to set in motion a long overdue reform of H-1B visas. Right now, H-1B visas are awarded in a totally random lottery, and that's wrong. Instead, they should be given to the most skilled and highest paid applicants, and they should never, ever be used to replace Americans. No one can compete with American workers when they are given a fair and level playing field, which has not happened for decades.
Why'd you change your mind on H-1B visas, sir?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
But sir, you said you changed your position.
Yeah, I need a lot of people coming into our country. What's up, guys? Can you hear me okay? I don't sound right for some reason today. What's going on here? Okay, maybe that's it. Okay, that sounds better. All right, sorry about that. Hey, guys, Happy New Year. Welcome to the rarest of rare Rescue Michigan daytime live streams, but we have something special today. It is actually a live session of Congress, the first session of the new year, and we shall see, or maybe we won't. Maybe they'll be in recess for a while, but we shall see at some point today whether it's going to be smooth sailing for Mike Johnson to be elected, even though it's only the body of congressmen that choose him, re-elected as House Speaker, or whether there's going to be chaos today. So buckle up. It should be interesting. And if they are in recess for a while, I've got topics to talk about. It's been a while, guys. It's been since before Christmas when we last saw each other. I guess I don't see you, but you see me. And I will see you in the chat if you drop comments. We are live, and I will be reading the chat, even on Rumble. Hey, it's me again, Sai. I see you there. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I actually, right after our last stream on the 22nd, packed my suitcase and hopped in my car and drove 12 hours to go see my family, literally directly after the stream ended. And I'm sorry we didn't have a stream last weekend, but I don't know. We've already done a lot of recap streams, I feel like, talking about all the crazy stuff that's happened this year. And frankly, with this debacle with the H-1Bs, which we will talk about in a few minutes here, I don't want to be everyone's Debbie Downer when I know everyone is so excited about Trump being inaugurated. Are you guys going to the inauguration? I guess nobody really knows yet. I got an email out of the blue from someone, a political operative in Washington, who said, "Hey, I like all the things you guys have done, and I will get you to the inauguration if I can. I'll put you on the list for stuff." I was like, I guess, sure, send me something. So they sent me a link, and it just says you're not guaranteed to get anything. So I filled out the form. Okay, fine. But, I'm not going to book reservations or go to Washington if I'm not going to get a confirmation that I'm going to get into the ceremony or whatever. I don't know. And honestly, I wasn't even planning to go because it's not really my cup of tea, guys. I'm not the one who, just basks in the glory of victory and assumes everything's going to be okay and can't wait to see all the great things the Trump administration will do. I'm frankly more of the pessimist. And I love to be proven wrong. But, I guess we'll see. Anyway, let's go to the live feed just for a second so you guys can see, because as of now, there is really just not much to see. This is the congressional webpage where you have a live stream. It says adjourned until 1 hour ago, which means it's in the past now. But If I refresh the page, there's still nothing just yet, but they were supposed to begin at noon. So we'll see. We'll see. What the plan for today in Congress is first a few short ceremonies to kick off the term, and then they go right into the election of the speaker. So if there are delays, I mean, first off, I don't know who has the authority to put in a delay because they haven't chosen their speaker yet. Usually, like it's here it says, here it says right there, the first meeting is subject to the call of the chair. I guess that must be Mike Johnson. But we'll see what happens. So sometimes, occasionally there's like a staff or a clerk that has the role of being the chair. Sometimes you see that, like in the Michigan Senate. Sometimes the clerk is at the podium there. So I don't know. Anyway, hey, Mark Ashley Price, good to see you, buddy. Happy 2025. He says, because it's now 2025 and I was not a successful candidate for re-election, I'm now officially a former school board member, but still a Citizens District Advisory Council member. Well, I'm sorry to hear you didn't make it, buddy, but as we say, the people have relieved you of the burden of governing, and sometimes that can be a good thing. So there's always plenty to do in the fight, and even whether or not you're on the school board, there's always more to do and more to be accomplished. So you just have that much more of an ability to do other things too, and sometimes that can be more effective. Honestly, it's easy for people to forget that there's two paths to power in politics. One is the direct path where you are the elected official, and the other one is where you're like on the outside controlling the environment in which the officials operate by organizing people and putting pressure on them and influencing the elections. And that can sometimes be even more effective. He also says, I was pleasantly surprised that Trump won the election. Can't wait till January 20th, honor each day that Trump is the president-elect and the president. Trump. There you go, Mark. Like I said, I wish I was as enthusiastic as you are, but I am a bitter, grizzled, cynical old man, unfortunately. Anyway, so while we are waiting, let's talk about some things. So first off, we have some Operation Watchdog stuff to talk about. Operation Watchdog, we now have completely updated everything at rescuemichigan.com. So I'll go there to show you so you can see. This is the main Operation Watchdog page. It's just linked right off the homepage there. All of the bills are in. All of the votes are in. Everything up until now that has been signed into law is there. And I say that with just one caveat, which is that there might not quite be, Whitmer might not be entirely done. I'll show you. This is the Public Act table, which lists all of the bills Whitmer has signed into law in the past 2 years. And boy, this is in itself, this is hilarious because of just how few bills he's actually signed in the lame duck. Remember, they went into lame duck trying to pass hundreds of bills. And what we have here, I mean, look at this. This is, let me go back a ways. Okay, so we're on page 16, and we see the first post-election bill signing on November 8th. This bill was probably actually passed right before the election. Actually, no, probably not, because they didn't have any session dates before the election. So PA 150 was the first bill signed, the first PA number signed after the election. And the last one is 185. So 36 bills is all that Whitmer has signed in the entire lame duck period, which is awesome. And I think most of these they're minor looking things, most of them. I mean, not all of them. But, of all the bills that we were worried about, age requirement for use of a courtroom support dog was not high on my list of bills to worry about. However, there may still be a splurge of signings yet to come. And the reason I say this is because even though, so according to the rules or the law or whatever it is that governs this, the governor has 14 days to sign a bill after it's been enrolled. And what enrolled means is not necessarily the date that the last vote was taken. So, for example, hey, Callie, good to see you. This is one of the last House bills that was signed or that was passed by the House and Senate. House Bill 4095, a standardized response terminology plan requires schools and non-public schools adapt and implement a standardized response terminology plan. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, this bill passed on the very last day of the House, I think. No, the Senate. The last vote was in the Senate on October 20th. That was 2 Fridays ago, 2 weeks ago, Friday. And the bill was enrolled, and the date. Hold on. I hear a gavel. What's going on here? Let's see here. Communication from the Speaker.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington,
We'll get back
D.C.,
to
January 3rd, 2025.
January.
I hereby appoint the Honorable Steve Womack to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Okay, we'll let this go for a minute or two. But
The prayer will be offered by Chaplain Kibben.
Would you pray with me? Our help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. You, O God, made the moon to mark the seasons, and the sun knows the time of its setting. And now, as this 118th Congress sets down its last gavel, and the journals are sealed and archived, we give you thanks that in your eternal mercy you have allowed us your goodness to pass over us, and privileged us to call on your name for the strength we have needed to sustain us in these years. You have been exceedingly gracious to us and have shown us your steadfast loving kindness time and again. Grant then that all who labored in this vineyard, who gave of their countless hours and unwavering energy, would receive your own well done. The silent champions of the clerk's office, the stalwart sentries of the Sergeant of Arms staff and the Capitol Police, the anonymous artisans and authors, the unheralded men and women whose patient dedication to the people's house has kept the lamp lighted and the nation's business principled and proper. Receive, O Lord, the work of our hands, and grant us the reward of your blessing on the legacy of this 118th Congress. In your eternal name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pursuant to Section
All right, here we
3Z of House Resolution 5, the Journal of the Last Day's Proceedings is approved. The chair will lead the House in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Me again says so the House, not me. We'll see what happens. So for those who don't know, turn this down a little bit. So for those who don't know, the Republicans
Under Clause 5D of Rule 20, the chair announces to the House
Thomas
that in
Massey
light
has
of the
already said he's
resignation of
not
the
supporting
gentleman
Mike
from North
Johnson for
Carolina,
Speaker.
Mr. Jackson.
In fact, I believe he
The
said he
whole
wouldn't
number of
vote
the
for Mike Johnson for
House
Speaker if you shoved bamboo under his
429.
fingernails. So
Plays before the House of
that means that it will take only one Republican to refuse to support Mike
The
Johnson.
Honorable, the Speaker, House
He'll
of
lose the gavel.
Representatives, sir. As I prepare to be
But
sworn in as Governor of Puerto Rico,
Mike Johnson apparently
I
is very
hereby make
optimistic. He
my
got Trump's
official
endorsement,
resignation
so we'll see what
from the
happens.
U.S. House of Representatives, effective 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, January 1, 2025. Enclosed is the letter I transmitted to Governor Pedro R. Pierluisi of Puerto Rico. It has been an honor to represent the people of Puerto Rico in Congress for the past.
Okay, well, anyway, while they're going on about
It
the
has
retirement
also
of the
been a
delegate from
privilege to
Puerto
serve
Rico who
you
pretends
and
to be a
our colleagues
congressman.
in the House during
As
this
I was
time.
saying,
I look forward to
the
continuing.
last bill in the state house was enrolled on the 23rd. Turn this off even quieter here. So what that means is that the governor has 2 weeks to sign this one. So it looks like the last day the governor has to sign the last of the bills is Monday. And the way it works is that any bills the governor just doesn't sign or veto during the session becomes law. But any bills that she doesn't sign or veto after session is adjourned is dead. So so she's still got bills that have been sent to her, and many more might be signed. We don't know, but it looks to me like Monday is the last day for the governor to sign anything. So Monday is the day we will be able to find out exactly what the Democrats got through in lame duck. By the way, the House is in serious subject to call the chair, so who knows how much longer that'll be going on for. Let me turn the volume back up so it'll notify me when they're back in session. But yeah, so we'll see how long this goes, guys. If it's just a few minutes, then probably that means Johnson's got the votes. But I don't know. My recollection. Did you guys watch the votes with Kevin McCarthy? Because I think they ran them several times, and they didn't just wait till they had the votes. It wasn't just like it would be in the state house where you'd see this message until midnight or 4 o'clock in the morning or something. They would plow through with votes. So we'll see. What's this? Next session starts at 8 p.m. No. Friday, January 3rd. The speaker announced the House do now adjourn, sign, die. What? Okay. Adjourn, sign, die. That means adjourn without date. That means they're adjourned until whenever. The timestamp's a little strange because it is not 11:57. That was before the show started. We're about 20 minutes past 11:57. But this is bizarre. I just think we're on like what's the time zone east of Eastern time? There isn't one. This is weird. Okay, we did this. We did this, I think. We did this. This was posted before I even started the stream, by the way, all this stuff. But this is new. This is new. They returned from recess and they just adjourned. So yeah, let's try refreshing the page here. Maybe I'll just change the date here. And yeah. January 4th, 2023. That's tomorrow's date, right? Wednesday, January 4th, 2023. No? How very odd. All right. Well, we'll come back to this. We'll check in on this, I suppose, as we continue on with our show. But in the meantime, it looks like maybe Mike Johnson's having some difficulties. I don't know. We'll come back to that. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Whitmer's got till Monday. That was actually, I think, the last thing I had to say on that topic. The next thing was, okay, let's talk about the speaker's race, guys. Well, first off, here, let me play a clip real quick. This is Trump's take on this. This is actually a video from the same moment he did this video that we had in the cold open. Yeah, Mark says they should at least try to elect a speaker today. I agree. I agree. I wonder, we'll in a minute or two, we'll check to see if there's any like breaking news articles saying what's going on. But in the meantime, let me play this clip here. This is Trump on Mike Johnson. This is his argument for Mike Johnson. Where is it? Here we go.
To those Republicans who are still not supporting Speaker Johnson.
Oh, I think they'll support Speaker Johnson. I think we're going to have a great time in Washington, and I think we're going to get great support. He's the one that can win right now. People like him. Almost everybody likes him. Others are very good too, but they have 30 or 40 people that don't like him. So that's pretty tough.
Are you calling members on his behalf?
Are you lobbying members?
Well, if necessary, but I think really we're going to have a great time. We're going to get a successful vote. He's a good man. He's a wonderful person, and that's what you need.
So that was Trump. Now I have to say, I don't know. And here's a tweet that has that video that also, and I think I reposted this on our feed. That kind of summarizes Trump's argument. He's got support, and he's the only one that can win. Which, if you think back, remember where we landed with Mike Johnson? It wasn't that Mike Johnson was the most popular guy. It was like after Kevin McCarthy, eventually we're just like, okay, we got to pick somebody. And this guy, I guess, was okay with the most people. So, yeah, Johnson might be the most popular according to Trump because he is the speaker. But by that logic, no matter, I mean, if you think about this, the essence of it is exactly why we were stuck with Mitch McConnell for decades. Oh, well, he's the man in charge and everyone likes him, or most people like him. He's the most liked person, the most qualified that people say. And therefore, he's the man forever until he retires, I suppose. I don't think that's good logic at all. And here's, I think, what is the average Mike Johnson supporter out in America's take on it. This is just some guy on Twitter. This is what he says. Today begins a new year, a new dawning for America, a new chance to fix what's been broken, a final chance to get it right. Let's now start it off by fighting amongst ourselves about a new speaker. Trump wants Mike Johnson. Trump believes he can do what he needs to do with Johnson as speaker. That's enough for me. Happy New Year for us, and with supporting President Trump and his picks. No other way forward. Now, a couple of things to this point. First off, Trump is in charge of the executive branch and certainly should get his picks for all of his cabinet members. I mean, unless they're literally unqualified, which none of them are. But the legislature is a separate branch of government, and Trump is not the king of the legislature. That shouldn't just be Trump gets, and this is really what it is. It's I want whatever Trump wants. There's no analysis of Mike Johnson's voting record. There's no analysis of his performance as speaker. No analysis of whether or not he kept his promises, which of course is because these are all problematic things to look into. I mean, the first thing is, and this is what happened with Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy got to the speaker's gavel by promising he would do things a certain way. He wouldn't be passing omnibus budgets. They wouldn't be just doing continuing resolutions forever and so on. He broke all these promises. And so the Freedom Caucus, led by Matt Gaetz, had enough. And interestingly, Thomas Massie, of all people, said, I don't think this is a good plan. But they went forward and ended up with Speaker Mike Johnson. And I remember at the time, guys, we were live covering this when it happened. I said, on paper, Mike Johnson looks outstanding. I really hope he is the man he seems to be. He was opposed to Ukraine aid. He was opposed to the surveillance state. And then the moment he became speaker, he became somebody completely different. If you haven't seen this, and actually, unfortunately, I didn't think to queue up a clip of this, but you should check out the interview on Tucker Carlson's channel with Glenn Greenwald. It's on X. It's fairly recent, where they're talking about Mike Johnson. And Glenn Greenwald is telling the story of when Mike Johnson completely broke one of his core promises. I think we talked about this on the R stream too, but you should watch this because Tucker didn't know about this. And as Glenn Greenwald's telling Tucker about this, Tucker's like blown away. One of the things that Mike Johnson he was interviewed on Glenn Greenwald's program, and he was being interviewed just because he was a member of Congress who was opposed to the renewal of the massive warrantless surveillance program, the program that they spy on everybody with, spy on MAGA especially with, the thing that guys like Mike Rogers supported. And Mike Johnson eloquently argued about why this is unnecessary, it's unhelpful, it's unconstitutional, and all these things. And then after Mike Johnson became speaker, not only did he reverse his position on the bill, he cast a tie-breaking vote in the House. In fact, as speaker, he engineered the entire way that bill got passed, because there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. There's a Judiciary Committee version that should have passed. There's a Intelligence Committee version, which is what did pass, which is all the pro-surveillance stuff. And when Johnson was asked, why did you completely reverse your position on this? He says, well, because I went to a class, they took me to this classified briefing. I get now special classified briefings as speaker, not like the regular members, apparently. And they showed me some things that showed me how important these mass surveillance programs were. And of course, at this point, Tucker is horrified because anyone with two brain cells knows that you can't just trust anyone at a classified briefing. Because what's a classified briefing? They take you into a room, tell you stuff that you can't possibly verify, and that's it. If you have no way of proving whether they're giving you the truth or the lies. And that was it. That's all that Mike Johnson needed to hear. Oh, okay, sure. You'll shred the Constitution, then spy on Americans then. But Mike Johnson went on to break all of his other promises and went right back to being just like Kevin McCarthy, if not worse. And Massey made this point a few months ago, 1 month ago, wow, time flies, about the budget. They removed Kevin McCarthy for passing an omnibus budget. And then with Johnson, they tried to pass this last minute, right before Christmas budget deal that's 1,500 pages of garbage and continues spending into oblivion. And that was so offensive, they had to roll that back. But then what they come up with is an omnibus extension, the very thing they removed McCarthy from, and they pass it, and everyone's like, oh, it's such a great win. Trump's like, oh, this is a great thing. It's so wonderful. The standards have gotten just lower and lower and lower. And the problem is, if you don't clean house and punish people for breaking their promises, then they're going to get the message that they can continue to break the promises. And before you know it, Mike Johnson will be just like the next Mitch McConnell, because he'll realize as long as I can break my promises. I can do anything I want. The speaker has enormous power over the caucus, not just in terms of legislative procedure, but in terms of elections and fundraising. That's where all the lobbyist money goes through the speaker's office. A lot of it does. It's even worse in Lansing, by the way. But this is where we're at with why we should support Mike Johnson. Trump says because he's popular, as if there's no way that could possibly be resolved, even though like the last speaker fight took a week, if that. And what about before that? When 2 years ago with Kevin McCarthy, what did it take to get McCarthy the votes? A week? What happened? They got McCarthy to make concessions. Then he broke those concessions, and then they put him back in. So anyway, so here's Thomas Massie. Actually, let me set the table here. Newt Gingrich, former House Speaker, mind you, says, I do not understand what the contrarian House Republicans think when they will gain by opposing Speaker Mike Johnson. They have no one who can get more votes. They risk crippling President Trump's electoral win on January 6th. I was going to actually argue with Newt on this, but why should I? Because Thomas Massie's about to. They are, in effect, allies of the Democrats. I challenge them to explain what their end game is other than noise. So Thomas Massie responds. Challenge accepted. First, let me note that the vote for Mike camp is not trying to make the case that Mike Johnson is endowed with the qualities necessary to lead our conference. Even you have limited yourself here to procedural justifications for his speakership, rather than telling us why he is a good or capable leader. Exactly. Same with Trump. Same with this other guy we looked at. They don't say he's got the vision to make America great again. We saw nothing from President Trump, nothing from the Johnson supporters, the Trumpsters who are lining up behind Trump. It's all, we can't have this fight. They never can explain what makes Johnson a good or capable leader. And that's because there is nothing. So Massie continues, even if Mike's entire goal is to do everything Trump wants without debate or question, which I would argue is not healthy for the institution of Congress, he's not going to be good at it. He already demonstrated this month that he won't tell the president what is achievable and what is not achievable in the House. And he lacks the situational awareness himself to know what can pass and what cannot. So now he addresses the Neuters' claims one by one. What do we hope to gain? A competent speaker who has the will and the ability to capitalize on this once-in-a-decade opportunity. That's right, the trifecta. What did the Democrats do with the trifecta, guys? Whitmer, the House, the Senate, and Michigan. I mean, it blew up in the end, but up until that point, they were getting a lot of things done. Hey, Patty, separation of powers. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what Massie's alluding to about what's not healthy for the institution of Congress just to be the rubber stamp of the executive. Anyway, so Thomas Massie continues. Johnson is not up for this task. Also, we want a speaker who inspires the public and who can make our case in the media so we can keep the majority for the second half of Trump's term. Johnson nearly led us to the minority in what was a banner year for Trump. He is certain to lose us the majority in 2026. Yeah, has anyone thought about that? Trump won by a bigger margin than he did 8 years ago, let alone 4 years ago. It was a good year for Republicans in general, and yet we lost seats in the House. Maybe Johnson's not that good of a leader. Quoting Neuter again, no one can get more votes. It's a bit ridiculous to assert that Mike Johnson is the only member of Congress electable to Speaker. He was only electable the first time because he hadn't held any type of leadership position, nor had he ever fought for anything. So no one disliked him, and everyone was tired of voting. He won by being the least objectionable candidate, and he no longer possesses that title. And then, again, Newt Gingrich, risk crippling Trump's win. This is, and I'm sure you guys have seen this online, where people are saying, if we don't elect Mike Johnson soon, then January 6th is going to roll around and somehow we're not going to get to make Trump president. And Massie points out, This is a scare tactic meant to stampede the masses, plain and simple. There is no legal or parliamentary argument for nullifying the national election if a speaker is not in place on January 6th. What did we just watch, guys? What did we just watch? We watched Steve Womack act as Speaker pro tem. Speaker pro tempore. Temporary Speaker. Yes, there are procedures to allow for a temporary speaker to do things that need to get done. That whole argument is complete gibberish. It is a total scare tactic. And then, of course, since the neuter brought this one out, they are allies of the Democrats. Massey retorts. Actually, it is Mike Johnson who routinely passes major legislation, Ukraine, omnibus, FISA spying, with only a minority of Republicans and relying on most Democrats. These bills were more popular among Democrats than Republicans. Remember Dennis Hastert, that House Speaker, a long time ago? He had something called the Hastert Rule, which was to say that we will not bring up bills for a vote unless we have a majority of Republicans that will support them. It's a great rule. It should be every speaker's rule. But no, Mike Johnson did the opposite. He went to Democrats to get votes for things. He owes his current speakership to the Democrats. Here's the roll call for the motion to table the motion to vacate last summer. Pelosi and Jeffries teamed up to save Johnson. In closing, the emperor has no clothes, and the entire conference knows it, but few will say it. The general public knows it too. Please don't shoot the messengers. So there you go. Spot on. And that's what this is about today. Now, let me just say this off the top. I will not hold it against Tom Barrett, who's a freshman in his first day on the job, voting against President Trump. You know, if he votes for Mike Johnson for speaker, I don't blame him. But there are 200 some Republicans in the House that got some splaining to do if they're going to go along with Mike Johnson, because they're right, guys. Think about what happened last time. It took him a few days to get a new House Speaker. And even though ultimately they did break their promises, as Mike Johnson did and McCarthy, this is still a punishment, because at the end of the day, McCarthy lost his seat. And if Mike Johnson loses his seat, the message is getting clearer and clearer that when Republicans make promises to become speaker, they have an obligation to honor those promises, or they'll be the next one to get their head chopped off by their caucus. Discipline begins at home. And this is, by the way, folks, I hate to say it, it's a bad sign for Trump. He's made the wrong move here. He did not show himself to be a very good wrangler of Congress in his first term. And I don't think it's going well this term either. And all he did do is stay out of it, honestly. That's all he did do. So, you know what? It's the Republicans in the House and the Senate. It's their job to choose their leaders. He didn't wait on the Thune selection, did he? I don't think he did. I don't remember him weighing on the choice of John Thune. So why do you have to wait on this one? Just looking at it's me against side. They voted like 17 times on McCarthy. I think Eli Crane is a yes on Johnson. We thought Johnson would be a fiscal conservative. Johnson marketed himself as a one of the hardcores. We were all very optimistic. He was an enormous disappointment. And this is the time to get rid of him. And so far, only Thomas Massey has shown that he's got the stones to do it. And of course, this would not have been an issue if not Trump put his thumb on the scales. This is a minus for Trump, guys. I hate to say it. It is. That's what the facts show. All right, let's come back and just see if there's any updates on what's going on in the real world here. Okay, this is new. Sorry, I didn't put it on my screen. Now it says the House convened, starting a new legislative day pursuant to the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. Okay, so there's updates here. What's going on over here? No, nothing. In recess, call the chair. Okay, so we might be here a while, folks. Well, we'll be here for a limited time. I'm not going to be here all day. But, you know, we still have some stuff to talk about at least. So, I think one of the things that I think we've seen here is there's three types of conservatives out there right now that are weighing on this, if they're weighing on the issue at all. First, you got the people who are on the Mike Johnson Trump side, like the one we just saw on X, that just says, yeah, whatever Trump says, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going with. Then you've got people who I think know better, but don't want to say anything. And I'm looking at you, Steve Bannon, between this and the H-1B thing, which we'll talk about next. People who are ideologically motivated, but at the same time are afraid of losing their access to Trump or something. And then there's guys like Thomas Massey. And I suppose myself that don't give a rip. I don't care what people think. I'm going to tell you what's right and wrong. Thomas Massey's right. Mike Johnson's wrong. Trump's wrong on this. Point, period, end of story. And if you don't agree with me, that's fine. You don't have to. And I'm not saying everyone that disagrees with me is is somebody that is just latching onto Trump and is a sycophant for Trump or whatever. We all have our own political analysis and the reasons we believe the things we believe. But that's my take, guys. I think Massey is right, and I hope we get one Republican. And it looks like by this mysterious recess of the call of the chair that there might be at least one more. There better be some roll calls, guys. There better be some roll calls. I want to see a roll call. We shall see. And Trump has actually tried to take out Thomas Massey before, and he didn't succeed, because Massey turns out also works his district and his constituents love him and they understand why he does what he does. Some others haven't had it so easy. Bob Good was a great conservative, lost his seat because Trump attacked him for same kind of thing, didn't support his budget or something like that, and Trump took him out, made the Congress less conservative. Great strategy there. But if they don't elect Mike Johnson, they're gonna have to find somebody else, and that might be a good thing. Maybe Jim Jordan will get a second chance, or someone good. We'll see, or maybe not. But can you do worse? Really? Johnson flip-flopped on everything to be wrong on everything. He was lousy on the budget. He was lousy on foreign policy. He was lousy on civil liberties. Good riddance. Could be worse than that. All right. And with that, let's talk about this little H-1B debacle that's come up in the past week. Let me start with this. This is obviously there's been a big point of contention among conservatives, and again, same kind of rift, if not even more pronounced. So I want to share this take. I think this is one of the best takes I've seen. This is from Glenn Greenwald again. I love Glenn Greenwald, even though he's a liberal, because he first off points out the worst things in liberals, but he also points out the worst things in conservatives too. People should pay attention. So this is his comment. So he's quoting some media idiot. MAGA diehards are already attacking Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and Trump isn't even in office yet. And Glenn responds by pointing out, media liberals can't even comprehend that Trump supporters, whom they have relentlessly depicted as blindly loyal, leader-worshipping fascist cult, a blindly loyal, leader-worshipping fascist cult, have actual ideological and policy differences they air. It's the Democrats who march in lockstep with virtually no dissent. Yeah, think about this, guys. Let's say Republicans were just all of the mind that Trump's our leader now, support everything he does. If he does something that we don't understand or don't like, well, just lump it, because we got to be unified, right? Trump now supports importing Indian laborers to replace American tech workers. Well, hey, MAGA, I guess, whatever. What kind of mindset is that? It's the Democrats' mindset. It's the mindset that allowed all ideological diversity and debate to disintegrate from the Democrat Party and to turn them into this cult of statism, and for values like free speech to disappear from the left forever. Which, from my perspective, is fine, because that just means we have the ability to take those issues in. But conversely, that's what makes it so bad when Republicans act this way. Is that's when Trump's bad impulses aren't checked. It's a very bad. One of the big things that happened in Trump's first term. He came into Washington promising to drain the swamp and build the wall. And 2 years later, The swamp is still there, and the wall is like barely half built. And he got a little bit more votes from minorities and stuff, but he lost white voters in a big way. I'm not saying that there wasn't some fraud in the 2020 election, but empirically speaking, Trump did not perform as well in 2020 as he did in 2016. And it's because people viewed him as having not kept his promises. And immigration was a big part of it. Some of that stuff was stopped by the courts. I know. But why did Steve Bannon start an organization called We Build the Wall? Because Trump didn't fight hard enough for it. When in his first 2 terms in office, we had the trifecta. Remember that? House, Senate, President. And what happened? Republicans sent Trump a budget that said, not only is this budget not going to fund the wall, we are forbidding you from directing funds to building the wall. What did Trump do? He signed it. It's bad. When Trump does bad things, it should be called out because that intellectual diversity is a good thing. Might actually influence him to not do bad things and do more good things. Like with the Michigan Republicans. We all blasted them and said, go home and don't cut any deals with the Democrats. And what they do, they went home and lo and behold, now we're all saying, great job, guys. Great job. We're actually proud of you for a change. They might actually like that. They might actually do that again next year. Let's hope. Fingers crossed, but we'll see. Hey, Dwayne, Happy New Year. Good to see you, buddy. Anyway, so here is the tweet that set this all. I still call it tweets. Here is the post that set it all off. This is obviously Vivek. We know who Vivek is. I'm not going to reintroduce him. This is his brilliant post. You've probably seen this, but just in case you haven't, I'll read it. I'll try to read it in his voice, although I can't really do a Vivek voice. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, since at least the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college. It starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zach and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. These are horrible references, guys. But whatever. Anyway, let's just get through this. Fact. I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity, and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math. These analogies are awful, guys. You ever seen the movie Whiplash? Whiplash is a movie that's like a sports movie that's been applied to music, where there's a deranged music teacher that tries to like beat this drummer down into becoming great. It's like he psychologically tortures him into becoming a genius. It's complete bullshit. And drummers, and I do play drums, drummers pan the movie because it's like, that's not how you become a good musician. They don't beat it into you. But that's what that movie is. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. This is Vivek sneering at American culture, by the way, guys. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kind of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids with scorn. If you grew up aspiring to normalcy, normalcy is what you will achieve. Now, close your eyes and visualize which families you knew in the 90s, or even now, who raise their kids according to one model versus the other. Be brutally honest. Go fuck yourself, Vivek. Normalcy doesn't cut it in hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. If we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened from slumber before we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness. That's the work we have cut out for us, rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislating alternative hiring practices into existence. I'm confident we can do it. American flag, American flag. Anyway, so that's Vivek's repulsive take on the American workers and why we're so whiny about these H-1B visas. And there's been lots of great responses to that coming from Brett Weinstein, Cernovich, I think, had one like right down there. A completely distorted understanding of what the H-1B visa program is, which is not that it's American workers competing with Indian workers. Is that these foreign workers are basically indentured servants getting offered less wages. They're getting locked in these wage contracts. They're all being brought in through these bulk companies. And they literally force Americans to train their own replacements. They are literally displacing American workers with foreign workers because they can give them less money. And also because oftentimes they then outsource them back out again. They come in temporarily, they train their replacements, and then they go back to India, where they can be paid even less. That often happens too. Anyway, but never mind that. Do mind that. But first, besides the issue itself, in and of itself, the hypocrisy is so staggering. This is Vivek Ramaswamy 3 months ago. This is him in October 2024, right before the election. See if you can spot a difference in his tune here.
A lot of the people who have come here through the H-1B system would tell you, as I would, that it is just a broken system no matter who you're seeking to serve. For example, you want to talk about special interests and lobbying? This is direct Silicon Valley lobbying that said that if you get your H-1B visa and you're hired by one company, you're effectively like a slave. You can't switch to a different company. That's not a free labor market. So there's so much that's broken and bureaucratized. Here's the next question about the H-1B visa system is why the heck do we do it on the basis of a lottery when you could actually just select the very best people? So there's a lot that's broken about the administrative state, the bureaucracy. My general approach is when something's broken in government, you can't really fix it when it's lasted that long. You need to shut it down, start with a blank slate, and rebuild from scratch. And that's just a stylistic point that I've applied to this issue as to any other.
Wow, wouldn't it be nice if that guy was in Trump's administration, and not Vivek of December 27th, 2024. Amazing. And of course, it should have not gone unnoticed that, of course, Vivek and Elon Musk both own companies that use a lot of these H-1B visas themselves. Wonder if there's any self-interest going on there. Speaking of Elon, here's an amusing exchange that happened around that same day. Neera Tanden, Democrat operative, says, I'm an Indian American who was born here, and it's crystal clear the Democratic Party sees me as an American, and a large part of the base, the Republican Party, does not. I hope Indian Americans, and she goes on, blah, 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 blah. You can actually go back and read the original post if you want to, but you get the idea. It's so anti-Indian to oppose this, replacing American workers with H-1Bs. So then Scott Adams, which... Now, ironically, Scott Adams, you don't know who Scott Adams is. He's the Dilbert cartoonist. But before he was the Dilbert cartoonist, he worked at Pacific Bell. And he actually has written many times about how he became so disenchanted with the labor market because his employers constantly told him, we will not promote you because you're a white male. We will only promote Indians, minorities, blacks, women, anybody but you, Scott Adams, because you're white and because you're a man. And that was partly what drove him to see cartooning as a profession. Anyway, now he's quoting this Democrat. And Elon Musk not only quotes him, but then says, and the contemptible fools, those contemptible fools, MAGA, he's talking about, the contemptible fools, MAGA, must be removed from the Republican Party, root and stem. That's right, guys. MAGA. And to which Jack Posobiec responds, this is a Soros operative talking about Neera Tanden. So this is another guy's take. Elon Musk now piggybacking off of Neera Tanden, a longtime Democrat operative, and a Biden hire to try to eliminate conservatives from the Republican Party who disagree with his crappy immigration takes. Yeah. But Elon wasn't done with this. It wasn't done by saying that contemptible MAGA fools must be removed from the Republican Party, root and stem. No, he goes on. He posts this on December 26th. Hold on, let me Hold on, I didn't switch the tab. Here we go. This is Elon Musk. Just a reminder that the algorithm is trying to maximize unregretted user seconds. A far more credible, verified subscriber accounts, not bots, mute/block your account compared to those who like your posts, your reach will decline significantly. To which Michael Tracy points out, didn't that used to be called shadow banning? Yeah. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's threatening your speech on X to be limited if you don't agree with his take on immigration policy. Another comment from Michael Tracy in this whole exchange. Curious to see how this threatened eradication of meddlesome right-wingers is executed. Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting pivot, that's happened post-election, guys. Doesn't seem a little bit strange? For a lot more, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed to them, you should absolutely subscribe to U.S. tech workers who have every single intellectual response to Vivek's idiocy on Twitter. And this is just one example of hundreds. And I've posted, I've retweeted a lot of them in the last few days, but obviously go right to the source. U.S. tech workers. A professor of computer science at UC Berkeley. My perfect GPA students are contacting me worried because they're getting 0 job offers. I don't know. By the way, I'm a computer science major. Personally, though, I can't claim anything to do with this. I just got into politics and didn't like computer science anymore as a field. I just got my degree and went to do my own thing in life. But But I remember at U of M, like I went to the job fairs. And it was all companies I didn't want to have anything to do with. It was like, want to work for Microsoft or Raytheon or Lockheed Martin? It's like, no, I really don't want to. I felt like I was self-limiting my own opportunities. I didn't want to work for any of these people. But that's not to say the jobs aren't out there, guys. It's just I don't want you to have them. So anyway, what did I talk about next? Oh yeah, so the next thing that happened, of course, is that Trump himself weighs in on this. And so here's the original thing. Trump tells the New York Post he supports immigration visas for highly skilled workers, signed with Elon Musk, which again rattled people because this is a broken this is a complete flip-flop, a total reversal, a broken pledge. And a lot of people were saying, I don't believe it because the New York Post quotes him. I won't believe it till I hear the words from Trump's mouth himself. And people are like, hey, Trump, remember saying these things, how much you despise H-1B visas? In fact, someone else pointed something out. Where was it? Let me see if I've got it handy here. It was in one of these quotes. It was this one right here. I have many H-1B visas on my properties, Trump says, which led a lot of people to think about this and go, hey, actually, Trump himself doesn't hire very many. He actually does not have very many H-1B visas on his properties. What do you mean on your properties? And what a lot of people kind of thought from that is actually, you know what that sounds like is he's mixing up H-1Bs and H-2Bs, because H-2B visas are seasonal employees, which is a different thing, but that's like, a lot of gardeners and, things like that. I'm sure Trump does have a lot of seasonal staff, so maybe he got mixed up. Maybe he got mixed up completely. And yet, of course, we had that video from Trump. I'll play it again in case this didn't sink in. This is Trump now saying he has always supported importing more workers. Here's the video again.
Why'd you change your mind on H-1B visas, sir?
I didn't change my mind. I've always felt we have to have the most competent people in our country. We need competent people. We need smart people coming into our country. And we need a lot of people coming in. We're going to have jobs like we've never had before.
But sir, you said you changed your position.
I didn't change my mind, he said. Well, we saw this clip from the debate. I'll play it again. It's a short clip. Here we go.
The H-1B very well, and it's something that I frankly use, and I shouldn't be allowed to use. We shouldn't have it. Very, very bad for workers. And second of all, I think it's very important to say, well, I'm a businessman, and I have to do what I have to do, and it's sitting there waiting for you, but it's very bad. It's very bad for business in terms of, it's very bad for our workers, and it's unfair for our workers, and we should end it.
So there you go, guys. Trump, in a presidential debate, says H-1B visas are terrible for American workers. And then the other day, he says, I've always supported them. And he says, what else did he say in that clip? He says, we need competent people coming into our country, implying Americans aren't. We need more people coming into our country. We need smart people coming into our country. We need a lot more people coming into our country. I've always believed that. That's what Trump said. There's only two ways you can take that. One is Trump lied about supporting H-1B visas the first time when he said he opposed them. Or he lied about changing his position because he said, I've always had this position. There is no getting around this. It is a black and white lie. One way, a bald-faced lie, one way or the other. Either you're lying then or you're lying now. Which is it? Doesn't matter. A core campaign promise. Bill Hamilton says, as an IT grad, I ran into the same problem of not being able to get a tech job. When the government has policies that effectively screw over our own graduates, maybe limited student loan forgiveness or at least interest reductions should be on the table. Just a caveat, I'm not in favor of blanket forgiveness. Just when the government screws us over. Yeah, part of the thing is, because of these programs being in place for so long, people don't go into those fields. And the artificial shortage created by the immigration policy then becomes a real shortage. Bill says, how about investing in better job training for American workers and hiring Americans first before any foreigners? Yeah, how about that? These Americans say how about the Americans that were forced to train their replacements? Whatever happened to them? Apparently Trump has always believed that that's the good policy. I mean, Bannon was talking about that. How heartbreaking they covered when Disney was bringing in workers from India and forcing their American workers to train their replacements before they fired them. How sick and evil that was. And now that's where Trump is. So, look, guys. Again, I know I hate to be the Debbie Downer here. I want the best, and no matter what we're talking about right now with this policy, there is always the hope that Trump will do great things in other areas of government. You know, cleaning house in the FBI, maybe. We've had 2 terror bombings on January 1st, and the FBI first thing they say is we don't even know if it's a terror attack or not. And there's been like the last couple of days, there's been like nothing as crazy as what's happened on January 1st, but there is clearly something big going on. And hopefully that will lead to Trump's cabinet picks getting approved quickly, because something very serious is afoot. And there is a very large scale conspiracy to subvert the United States that's got to be addressed. And frankly, I think they've got a lot of sleeper. Biden's own administration, I think, is a big part of it. And they are actively trying to sabotage Trump's incoming administration right now in every way possible. So we'll see. Maybe there'll be some good things. If he only reforms the deep state, that'd be one thing. Although with Mike Johnson, I don't see how he would, but, you know. Anyway, sorry to be that guy. This is why I didn't have a show on Sunday, folks. I want to ruin your New Year's. Let's check back real quick just to see if there's been any update in Congress. Looks like they're still in recess. They are still in recess, as far as I can tell. Let's see if there's any. See if there's been any news about this. Just see what's going on. What's going on with the votes? Oh, what's this happening now? Votes on Congress? I was just doing that. What? Okay, apparently you do not go to congress.gov for live footage of Congress.
Carbajal.
There's a roll call happening right now.
Jeffries. Carey. Johnson.
Okay, well, they've been doing this Johnson
Carson.
Jeffrey stuff for a long time.
Carson. Carter of Georgia.
I'm going to look through real quick to see if there's been a vote already.
Johnson. Carter of Louisiana. Jeffries.
This is their first roll call, it looks
Carter
like.
of Texas. Johnson. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries.
Oh, they only started 5 minutes
Caston.
ago.
Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries.
So let's let it run. Let's see what happens.
Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Shifrellis McCormick. Jeffries.
If we hear anything other than
Chu.
Johnson and Jeffries,
Jeffries.
then there's problems for Mike Johnson.
Ciscomani. Mike Johnson. Cisneros. Jeffries. Clark of Massachusetts.
I wish I could make it go double
Jeffries.
speed, but we're live.
Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. Johnson. Cloud. Cloud. Clyburn. Jeffries. Clyde. Clyde.
That one that we didn't hear from Cloud is a Republican.
Cohen.
They might go back to him at the end.
Jeffries. Cole. Johnson. Collins. Johnson. Comer. Johnson. Conaway. Jeffries. Connolly. Jeffries. Correa. Jeffries. Costa.
If I switch the tab away, will you guys see it or not? If I go to this, do you guys no longer hear the clerk? Let me know in the chat if you guys don't hear the clerk anymore. You guys still hear them calling out Mike Johnson, Jeffries? Johnson, Jeffries. Can't hear clerk? Okay. We're not missing anything. I'll go back to it for a sec, but so far it's just more of the same. I'm going to see if I can find a listing of them just to see how many more we've got to go. About a third of the way through, guys. No, a little over a quarter of the way through. Oh, shoot, guys. I'm so sorry. I meant to switch back.
Johnson.
It's been all, you haven't missed anything. It's all the same. Just Johnson, Jeffries, Johnson, Jeffries.
Johnson. Fedorchak.
Some of them like to,
Johnson.
peacock a bit. This congressman from Michigan votes for Mike Johnson.
Jeffries. Figures.
Yeah, you can watch it here too, Kelly.
Finstack.
Although we'll see. I'll probably call it a stream at 1:30 because at that point, you know,
Fishbach.
we either know the answer or we
Fitzgerald.
could be here all day.
Johnson. Fitzpatrick. Johnson. Flashman. Johnson. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. Johnson. Fung. Johnson. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. Johnson. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. Scott Franklin.
The one to certainly listen to is to watch for is Chip Roy, but we'll see.
Jeffries. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. Johnson. Fulcher.
Andy Biggs did not vote when his name was called, and neither did Cloud.
Garamendi. Jeffries. Garbarino.
But they can still vote at the end. But
Garcia.
tension's pretty high.
California. Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois. Jeffries. Garcia of Texas. Jeffries. Gill of Texas. Johnson. Gillen. Jeffries. Jimenez. Johnson. Golden of Maine.
Apparently, there are a couple of very uncertain Republicans
Goldman of New York.
that ultimately voted for Johnson, and that was Burchett and Burleson.
Goldman of Texas. Johnson. Gomez. Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez. Johnson. Vicente Gonzalez. Jeffries.
Okay, now we're about a third of the way through.
Johnson.
There, that place is about 154th in the order.
Jeffries. Gosar.
Gosar stayed silent.
Gottheimer.
He was one that was reported to be going for Johnson, but just barely. We knew Gosar was going to be on the fence.
Johnson. Gray.
So I've got 3 Republicans that have not yet that declined to vote yet.
Green of Tennessee. Johnson. Green of Texas.
Liberty and justice for all. The hope and dream of
Yeah, what a loser. Oh boy.
The gentleman may respond by survey.
Jackass.
Green of Texas. Jeffries. Green of Georgia.
I guess it was Al
Johnson.
Green.
Griffith. Johnson. Grijalba. Jeffries. Grothman. Johnson.
Green was just he was just yammering on.
Guest.
Now I'm going to vote for the
Johnson.
candidate for liberty
Johnson.
and justice and blah blah blah. Then he got gavelled.
Guthrie.
I guess at some point I couldn't hear, but apparently they got out and he was voting for Jeffries.
Hageman. Johnson. Hamadeh of Arizona. Johnson. Carter of California. Jeffries. Herodopoulos. Johnson. Harrigan. Johnson. Harris of Maryland. Harris of Maryland.
Andy Harris?
Harris of North Carolina.
Uh-oh.
Johnson. Harshbarger.
Was that Andy Harris? I think
Johnson.
it was.
Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn of Oklahoma. Johnson. Higgins of Louisiana. Johnson. Hill of Arkansas. Johnson. Himes. Jeffries. Henson. Johnson. Horsford. Jeffries. Houchin. Johnson. Houlihan. Jeffries. Hoyer. Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries. Hudson. Johnson. Huffman. Jeffries. Huizinga. Johnson.
There's Bill Huizinga.
Hunt. Johnson.
I would be shocked
Heard,
if any of the
Colorado.
Michigan delegation doesn't vote for Johnson.
Johnson. Isa. Johnson. Ivy. Jeffries. Jack. Johnson. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. Johnson. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. Johnson.
Jim Jordan's coming up. He'll vote for Johnson.
Jayapal. Jeffries. Jeffries. Jeffries.
I'm going to put one of the show. And the Democrats all this week.
Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. Johnson.
Of course, that was Mike Johnson. Butler's got a cheer louder now, of course.
Johnson of South Dakota. Johnson. Johnson of Texas. Jeffries. Jordan. Johnson.
We're about
Joyce of
200 names
Ohio.
in out of 429.
Johnson. Joyce of Pennsylvania. Johnson. Kim Lagerdove. Jeffries. Captor. Jeffries. Kane. Johnson. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries. Kelly of Mississippi. Johnson. Kelly of Pennsylvania. Johnson. Kennedy of New York. Jeffries. Kennedy of Utah. Johnson. Kana. Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. Johnson. Kylie of California. Johnson. Kim. Johnson. Nat.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Krishnamurthy. Jeffries.
We're past the halfway point now.
Kustoff. Johnson. LaHood. Johnson. LaNota.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. LaMalfa.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Lanceman. Jeffries. Langworthy. Johnson. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latimer. Jeffries. Latta.
Johnson.
Johnson. Lawler.
The Honorable Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Lee of Florida. Johnson. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Jeffries. Letlow. Johnson. Levin.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries. Ricardo.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries. Lou.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries.
The Democrats would
Lofgren.
vote for Mickey Mouse, and it wouldn't make any difference because Johnson's got to get to the majority
Loudermilk.
either way.
Johnson.
They just want to drive from the fact that they are
Lucas.
completely, totally unified behind
Johnson.
a complete scumbag.
Luna.
MAGA Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Latrell.
That was Anna Paulina Luna, by the
Lynch.
way. Who said MAGA Mike Johnson.
Jeffries. Mace. Johnson. McKenzie.
Mike
That
Johnson.
was Nancy Mace.
Johnson. Magaziner.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries.
Well, I think we were
Maliotakis.
going to take a post in the Trump administration,
Johnson.
if I'm not mistaken.
Malloy.
Here,
Johnson.
Massey does. Here comes Massey.
Mann.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Mannion.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries. Massey.
Tom Emmer.
Emmer.
Oh, kiss of death for Tom Emmer right there. That's too bad. And a murmur goes up in the chamber.
Mast.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson.
Massey should have just not voted for anybody.
Matsui. Jeffries. McBath.
Or voted for Rand Paul or something.
Jeffries. McBride. Jeffries.
Emmer's nothing great,
Hall.
honestly, although he does support Arthur
Johnson.
Fed, I guess, so that is worth something. but
McLean.
whatever.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson.
Emmer is in the leadership
McLean,
team. He was in the
Delaney.
leadership team before with McCarthy
Jeffries.
as well.
McClellan.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries. McClintock. Johnson. McCullum.
Jeffrey.
Jeffries. McCormick. Johnson. McDonald Rivet. Jeffries.
There's our new Congresswoman.
McDowell.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. McGarvey.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries. McGovern.
Jeffrey.
Jeffries. McGuire.
President Trump won in the electoral vote, and I'm proud to illustrate Mike Johnson.
Johnson. McIver.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries.
I think it was McHenry, is that right?
Meeks.
Was yammering on about Trump's victory.
Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Mang.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries. Messmer.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Muser.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Mfume.
Hakeem Jeffrey.
Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. Johnson. Miller of Ohio.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Miller of
I'm
West
looking at
Virginia. Johnson.
I'm disappointed he doesn't
Meeks.
have something else lined up
The
besides
Honorable
that
Representative and Speaker of the House, Mike
OAN
Johnson.
job.
Johnson. Mills.
He's going to regret having
Johnson.
left Congress, you know.
Min.
Hakeem Jeffries.
The media is the
Jeffries.
most overrated force in politics. And
Molinar.
that he walked away from.
Johnson. Moore of
That was
Alabama.
Molinar, by the way, our congressman,
Johnson.
voting for Johnson.
Moore of North Carolina.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Moore of Utah.
Steve Johnson.
Johnson. Moore of Wisconsin.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Moore of West Virginia.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Moran.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Morelli.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Morrison. Jeffries. Moskowitz. Moskowitz. Jeffries. Moulton.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Mervan. Jeffries. Mullen.
Jeffries.
Jeffries.
Great audio, huh, guys?
Murphy.
Johnson.
Johnson. Nadler.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Neal.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Nagoose.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Nails. Johnson. Newhouse.
Mr. Johnson.
Johnson. Norcross.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Norman.
Jordan.
Jordan.
Uh-oh. That's it. That's it, guys. Ralph Norman of South Carolina votes for Jim Jordan. And there will be multiple rounds.
Nunn of Iowa.
The Honorable Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Ogunoti.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson.
All right, we're at 2/3 now. We've gotten 300
Ocasio-Cortez.
votes down. Should we listen to the end?
Jeffries. Ogles.
I think we should. To see how many other no votes there might be out there.
Johnson. Olszewski. Jeffries. Omar. Jeffries. Onder.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Owens. Johnson. Pallone.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Palmer. Palmer. Johnson. Panetta.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pelosi.
The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries.
That was Nancy.
Perez.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Perry. Johnson. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Fluger.
Johnson.
Johnson. Pingree.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Poe.
By the way, in
Jeffries.
case anybody does not know,
Presley.
it doesn't matter if Jeffries gets more votes than Johnson, as long as
Presley.
neither has a majority, which they won't unless the Republican
Jeffries.
votes for Jeffries, and they won't.
Quigley.
We'll just have to get another vote.
Jeffries. Ramirez.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Randall.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Raskin.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Reschenthaler. Johnson. Riley of New York.
Binghamton University's Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Rivas.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Rogers of Alabama.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Rogers of Kentucky.
What did I said?
Johnson.
Didn't vote yet. I know I got Biggs
Rose.
and Cloud, but there was
Johnson.
another one, wasn't there?
Ross. Jeffries. Rouser. Johnson. Roy.
Uh-oh. Chip Roy goes in the silent column.
Ruiz. Jeffries. Ruley. Johnson. Rutherford.
Clyde also.
Johnson. Ryan. Jeffries. Salazar. Johnson. Salinas. Jeffries. Sanchez. Jeffries.
Oh, Gosar, that was the other one.
Scalise. Johnson. Scanlon. Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries. Schmidt. Johnson. Schneider. Jeffries. Skolton.
Well, they said maybe Bear didn't
Schreier.
vote either. But they say that's
Jeffries.
because he didn't hear his name being
Schweikert.
called.
Johnson. Austin Scott. Johnson. David Scott. Jeffries. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. Donalds.
Donald's. Self. Who's Self? You guys heard of Self before? Who is Representative
Sessions.
Self?
Johnson.
Keith
Sewell.
from Texas?
Jeffries.
Never heard of this guy.
Sherman. Jeffries. Cheryl. Jeffries.
Freshman.
Shreve.
No, freshman last year he was.
Johnson.
Second term.
Simon. Jeffries. Simpson. Johnson. Smith of Missouri. Johnson. Smith of Nebraska. Johnson. Smith of New Jersey. Johnson.
It's me again. Sorry, it
Smith
wasn't
of
Byron
Washington.
Donalds. With Keith
Jeffries.
Self who voted for Byron Donalds.
Smucker. Johnson. Sorensen. Jeffries. Soto. Jeffries. Sparts. Johnson.
Sparts went Johnson.
Stansbury.
She was reportedly on the fence too.
Jeffries.
She's Ukrainian.
Stanton. Jeffries. Stauber. Johnson. Stefanik. Johnson. Style. Johnson. Stubbe. Johnson. Stevens. Jeffries. Strickland. Jeffries. Strong. Johnson. Stutzman. Johnson. Subramaniam. Jeffries. Suazi. Jeffries. Swalwell. Jeffries. Sykes. Jeffries. Tucano. Jeffries. Taylor. Johnson. Tenney. Johnson.
Sex trafficker.
Tanadar. Jeffries.
I was saying Tree Thanadar.
Thompson of California.
You know, he supports legalizing prostitution.
Jeffries. Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. Johnson. Tiffany. Johnson. Timmons. Johnson. Titus. Jeffries. Talib. Jeffries. Takuda. Jeffries. Taco. Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries. Torres of New York. Jeffries. Trahan. Jeffries. Tran. Jeffries. Turner of Ohio. Johnson. Turner of Texas. Jeffries. Underwood. Jeffries. Valadeo. Johnson. Van Drew. Johnson. Van Dyne. Johnson. Van Orden.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Vargas.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. Vasquez.
Hakeem Jeffries.
Jeffries. VC.
Jeffries.
Got about 20 more to go, folks.
Velasquez.
Walbert's coming up.
Jeffries.
No surprise, he'll vote for Johnson for sure.
Vindman.
Jeffries.
Jeffries. Wagner. Johnson. Wahlberg.
Johnson.
Johnson. Waltz. Waltz.
Another abstention.
Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters. Jeffries. Watson Coleman.
I don't know why they applauded
Jeffries.
Maxine Waters.
Weber of
Which is
Texas.
Maxine Waters, I suppose.
James Michael Johnson, Louisiana's favorite son.
Johnson. Webster of Florida. Johnson. Westerman. Johnson. Whitesides. Jeffries. Weed.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Williams of Georgia. Jeffries. Williams of Texas.
Johnson.
Johnson. Wilson of Florida. Jeffries.
Jesus Christ.
Wilson of South Carolina. Johnson.
You
Whitman.
lie.
Mike Johnson.
Johnson. Womack.
Johnson.
Johnson. Yackham.
Johnson.
Johnson. Zinke.
Michael Johnson.
Johnson.
Nothing to go back. I think we got 7 abstentions. See what they do. Higgs.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from the Virgin Islands seek recognition?
Speaker, I have a parliamentary inquiry. I note that the names of the representatives from the Americas, Samoa, Guam, Northern Mariana, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and the District of Columbia were not called. representing
Because you're not
collectively
Congressman.
4
Fuck off.
million Americans.
Is where they browbeat the Americans for not allowing Puerto Rico to cast their vote for the Democrats. You are out of order.
Mr. Speaker, collectively, the largest per capita of veterans in this country.
Does the gentlelady have a parliamentary
I asked
inquiry?
why they were not called.
Because you're not states.
Have some respect. It's not going to take.
Gentlelady is recognized.
I asked why they were not called from the parliamentarian, please.
So
Delegates-elect and the resident commissioner-elect are not qualified to vote. Representatives-elect are the only individuals qualified to vote in the election of a speaker. As provided in Section 36 of the House Rules and Manual, the speaker is elected by a majority of the members-elect voting by surname.
Body and this nation has a territories and a colonies problem. What was supposed to be temporary has now effectively become permanent. We must do something about this problem so that these 4 million. But I have a voice. And
No, you don't. You're out of order. What's up? You're wasting America's time.
The reading clerk will now call the names of the representatives-elect who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Let's see what happens.
Biggs of Arizona.
Johnson. Biggs is out. Fence sitters. These guys are waiting to see if their votes were needed. Now they're not going to go for Johnson.
Carson. Jeffries. Cloud. Johnson. Clyde.
Clyde. Bueller.
Gosar.
Bueller.
Harris of Maryland. Johnson.
Harris folds. You're next, Chip Roy.
Roy. Johnson. Waltz. Johnson.
Dang. So that leaves 5. Clyde and, let's see if they call Clyde and Gosar again.
If there are any representatives-elect who did not answer the call of the roll, they may come to the well and vote at this time.
All right, guys. So here's what happens next. The House can't recess because there's no rules package that's been adopted yet.
Clyde.
So what's going to happen is at some point, Johnson can choose to adjourn. Or he can continue to pressure members to vote for him.
Clyde.
Clyde's not voting. Oh, he said Johnson? I think Clyde just said Johnson.
Gosar. Johnson.
Clyde and Gosar just folded. So that leaves 3.
Clyde. Johnson.
All right, let's see what happens now. What happens now is Trump's calling Ralph Norman and Keith Self, promising to primary them. Was probably happening. Well, hey guys, I'm just watching this on the Fox News live feed, and I'm not going to stay here all day because we might be here a while. We'll give this another moment or so, but then we gotta call it a stream. And I've said I have to say about this whole debacle before we started anyway. So you know, we'll have a regular stream on Sunday. I promise we'll be back on Sunday. Let's see here. Yeah, Kelly says that's exactly what's happening. Brown Dog on Rumble says, I hate fake Republicans worse than Democrats. Just keep voting all day till you get it right. Actually, he said something else too, but I'll admit the remarks. There's no chance it's mine to hate Democrats worse. Yeah. Yep, amazing. This is a very sad state of affairs. So I think, yeah. All right, hey guys, I'm gonna shut this down because I am pretty sure that unless maybe Norman and Self can change their votes, but I'm pretty sure the only way this proceeds is if they have the whole other vote. They do it all over again. So we'll see. If you want to stay with it, you can watch it on Fox News Live. I'm sure it's going to be going for a while before they give up for the day. We'll see. I could be wrong. For all I know, the minute I hang up the stream, they're going to come back and change their votes, and Johnson will be the speaker. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll talk about it on Sunday. Thanks, guys, for tuning in and enjoying the afternoon with me. We'll talk again soon. Until next time, thanks as always for all you for liberty. And till next time.